Today we've got a fire in the shop. No, not one of those fires. It's a FUEGO, a Renault FUEGO. You guys have seen it in the background, and today we're going to take a look at it. Let's get started. This is a 1982 Renault FUEGO. It's actually owned by Euro-Asian Bob. He bought it. I'm not sure where. You actually can go to his channel. There's a link in the description below. There's maybe a video on it where he picked it up. But he bought it not running. Now, before we dive into this thing, I want to clear something up. We've actually taken phone calls in the office Crazy D has where people have said, I heard you guys do vehicle restorations. That has never been the case. We've never advertised that, and we never will. However, for a handful of select customers in the area that I trust and I've done business with for years, I will help them get it started or get it running, at least get it to the point where it's drivable. Then they can take it from there and do all the little bits and bobs and here of things. So no, we are not interested in restoring your car. But we are going to get this one running again for Euro-Asian Bob. So the only issue majorly that it has is it just won't start. Now the question we're going to answer today is the engine good? Does it want to start? What does it need to start? This is kind of some of the questions you'll have when you buy a car that hasn't ran in a long time. What am I about to dive into? So we'll take a look around this thing, do an interior review, and then we're going to dive into finding out what's it going to take to get this started and get it on the road. As we go around this vehicle, you're going to see the theme of this car is one word: funky. It is a funky little car. It's got all kinds of really neat styling, strange stuff you just don't see anymore. It has this kind of a cladding along the bottom of the trunk and around the side. You can see it's a turbo. As we go down the side, you can see the paint's in good shape. It does have a tiny dent here, but really, it's been sitting for a long time, it's actually in pretty good shape. You can see those tires as you're looking right now. Those are original from like the 80s or 90s or something. Those are old, really old. But that's not our focus today. Here's the front of this FUEGO. It does look like a Ford Escort kind of a look to me, but in the 80s, early 80s, that kind of a style was going around all the different automakers. You can see that the hood is in good shape. All the pinstriping is intact. Here's some more of that cladding or strakes, whatever you want to call them. It goes along the side. It's really cool. As we go up here, you can see it has the early days pano roof. It's not really glass or anything, but it actually works still. And from what I've read in some of the forums, those things were broken even when they were brand new. So this one actually works amazingly. We'll show you guys, we'll close it here in a little bit. So overall, this thing actually is in really good shape on the exterior. It's not rusted or rotted. It doesn't have the cancer on the sides. Really a good starting point. What's really funky is the interior. Let's let Mrs. Wizard show you guys around. It's really cool and funky at the same time.
Wow, this has 63,163 miles on it. That's amazing, and it's going to present very well today. I think you're going to be quite impressed with this car. Now, we see a lot of orange there. Just wait, it gets a lot more orange. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at our lovely dash. I'm not sure what could possibly have gone there at some point. Maybe being that it's an 82, maybe they had that little, you know, the little round up here. You'd have the little compass, little ball. Yeah, maybe that was there. I love the little shelf there. Very common for cars of that era, and it does say turbo as well. But look at the vent. All of the little louvers, all the little doors, everything is still there. Looking good here as well, except for minus a radio, but okay, I'll give them that. They can put that in again. Very simple controls there for our HVAC, and we do have a gauge there for our boost on the turbo. And to continue our orange theme, which it probably wasn't orange when it was new, it's probably clear, but you know, it's orange now. But we do see that on our gear selector, it does say it is a 5-speed manual. So this would be a lot of fun to drive. But as we move back, you'll see we have a very large cavernous spot where we today would have our armrests and things. But no, we just get a really large emergency brake and these always standing up seat belts. So here we are at the seat, and this is where the funkiness really begins. So here's our vintage Renault keychain, and we've got the lovely kind of a, well, orangish brown with a brown, and as we move up, you'll see, oh, we've got the Renault logo stitched, diamond stitched into the seat itself. But look at the bolster. This is incredible. It is massive. It just gives you a hug and holds you in place. Quite impressive. As we move to the door card, we have a lot more of that, kind of an orangish leather as well. Got a carpet section, and then we've got controls. We've got one very nice one for our rear view mirror, and then we've got electric controls for the window itself. But as we move down, you'll see that it has the original Renault floor mats, and amazingly, there is the dealer tag from when this was new in 1982. Collier's Auto Sale of Brownville, Texas. That's just crazy. So this is a hatchback, and we can see that we have a 50-50 split on the back seat as well. Got more of that stitching like the bottom half of our driver's seat, but it doesn't go up to diamond pattern on the back. It is just a nice stripe all the way back. So it looks like we have 2 lanes of a road in the back seat. But we can see way in the back, we can see we've got some access panels and things open, but again, it's very much a hatchback, so we've got lots of storage space as well. But notice that everything is plastic in here, and it's not broken. There's no holes, there's no cracks. It's in excellent condition. As we move up, you'll see that our roof goes into pano mode very quickly. And so it has been a very bright interior view because the entire pano roof is currently open. So here we are, back at our steering wheel. There's nothing there. We've got a horn button. That is it. There's no airbag. That's why we've got this very tiny little square here with our Renault logo on it. One thing I do note in the back, it does say the unleaded premium only. I like how they had to put unleaded because at that time, regular was still very popular at the pump. So enough of this interior talk. I'm really wanting to see, how does this pano roof really work? Let me trade places with the wizard and let's see how this thing operates.
All right, guys, Eurasian Bob, when he brought this, he opened it up and it actually worked. We all jumped for joy. Let's try to see if it closes. This is something I've never seen before, a kind of a vinyl or a fabric-based roof that just opens and closes. It seals on this soft seal here so rain doesn't get in. But literally, I mean, what if you were in a hailstorm? Would that...
It wouldn't dent like most cars of today.
But it could tear through if it was big enough. That would be scary to me.
I don't know. I think I'd trust that more than I would trust a glass pano roof on the others where they shatter.
That's true. But it's just really interesting. It kind of like an accordion, it just kind of crumples up when you open it. It's a good thing this top is working because I couldn't imagine how expensive it would be to repair if it weren't. And that's if I could even find the parts. And no matter what you're buying, whether it's car parts to a hamburger, it seems everything has gotten more expensive. Keeping up with rising bills and expenses can be very hard and even scary. When Mrs. Wizard and I were just married over 20 years ago, we found ourselves with more debt than income. We worked very hard over a year to get it all paid off. It would have been nice to have some outside help and guidance to get us through the rough time. Luckily for you, PDS Debt, the sponsor of today's video, can help you get debt-free. If you owe $10,000 or more in eligible debt, PDS Debt can help you, even if you have fair or bad credit. PDS Debt strives to understand your unique situation and can help provide alternative solutions to get you out of debt from credit cards, personal loans, collections, or medical bills. Stop waiting and start saving. Get a free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/carwizard. It only takes 30 seconds. That's pdsdebt.com/carwizard. Don't forget, pdsdebt.com/carwizard. So let's go ahead and get the hood opened and show you what's under the hood. All right, let's take a look here. It's a 1.6 liter turbo, fuel injected. Yes, even in 1982, it was fuel injected. And there's our little distributor with all the wires and everything intact. You can take one look, although we do have some parts removed. We were doing some testing. You can tell that it's been unmolested, it's not been messed with or modified. And on the other side of the engine, I want to show you something very interesting. In today's modern cars, it's kind of strange to see a turbo with a catalytic converter mounted right to the back with the exhaust coming down from there. If the cat goes bad, you have to buy this whole assembly. But they were doing that all the way back in '82 on this Renault. Let's take a look. Here's our turbo. And right out of the turbo, we're into a big case right here, which is a catalytic converter. There's our O2 sensor right before it. Isn't that strange, guys? When Bob was here, when he dropped this off, we both looked at that and kind of had a laugh about it. We're like, even back then they had a giant cat right after the turbo. It's kind of interesting. But so let's crank this thing and see what happens. We did check the oil. It does have oil and fluid, so all that's good to go. Let's see what happens. So just from doing that, from years of experience, I know a few things right off the bat. Obviously we know it turns over. That's pretty simple to know that. But I've gotten experience over the years. I listen with my ears. It's got a staccato pattern to the starter noise. If it just went, there would be no compression. We'd know something's wrong internally. If it just went like an uneven pattern, like that would mean that some cylinders have compression, some don't. But this one sounds strong. It's a good that means all 4 cylinders have got good compression. So that part is there to help it start. So why isn't it starting? We've actually already torn into this thing pretty good. We're going to show you what we found, but let's go ahead and get some starting fluid. This is something you can use to do the procedure I call divide and conquer. We've divided and conquered already by cranking it. We know now it has good compression. It turns over. It doesn't make crunching noises. There's something bad. It has oil in it and everything like that. Let's get some starting fluid and see what happens with that. So since it's a FUEGO, we don't want to have FUEGO. We don't want to have fire, which, if those of you who don't know, FUEGO is Spanish for fire. We don't want fire outside, something bad happening. I always have some of my spray fire extinguisher ready. Set it right there. I'll go ahead and spray some starting fluid. Okay. I'll go crank it. Mrs. Wizard, spray a little bit more in there.
Okay.
Yes! We've just answered like 12 questions in 10 seconds. Just that fast. Phase 1 was cranking. Does it crank? Does it sound like it's going to want to start even if we try other methods? That was a yes. Phase 2 is if we supply fuel. Will it start? Yes. So now we've divided and conquered. The distributor is good. The spark plugs are good. Crank sensor, cam sensor, whatever it might have is good. The computer is good. The compression obviously is good. The valve train is good. All it needs is fuel. It doesn't need anything else to run, just fuel. So why is it not getting fuel? We'll show you what we found with that. So Junior Mint's actually been working on this. He's been doing a very good job. We have the full fuel system removed. And the reason for that is I opened the fuel tank cap and took a smell, and it smelled like 40-year-old gasoline. It was so bad. I was actually coughing. I was like, okay. Just from that smell, again, I divide and conquer. I now know the entire fuel system is probably shot. I've actually had people call me many times. My car's been sitting for 10 years, blah, blah, blah. I think it just needs a fuel pump. Nope. It never just needs a fuel pump. It needs almost everything replaced. Here's the fuel tank and all the parts. Let's go over what it looks like inside the tank. Look at that, guys. There's a coating inside the tank and it's all melted. It's like a brown sludge everywhere. Here's our fuel sending unit, which is toast. It just sticks. It's so corroded it doesn't even hardly. I guarantee you the contacts in there are ruined. This is what fuel turns into when it sets for 20, 30, 40 years. It actually can turn into a solid again. Bet you didn't budget that when you thought about it just needed a fuel pump, huh? Here's our fuel filter, and I'll try to blow through it. It's completely sludged inside of it. And our fuel pump, I can't blow through it. It doesn't tell you much to blow through it, but we did put power to it and it just gets hot. It doesn't do anything. So that's bad as well. The other half of the fuel system is in the engine bay. Let's go take a look at that. We actually removed all the fuel injectors. Junior Mint went through with some BG fuel cleaner, was able to get them spray. He actually used shop air pressure at about 40 psi with some fluid behind it and got them to all start spraying very nicely. They all work. We got so lucky there, very lucky. Also, all the rubber hoses were bad. We replaced all those. Let's take a look. Here's all our injectors with fuel injection rated hose. Replaced all 4 sections of that. We also replaced the supply line, and right here is the return hose going to the fuel pressure regulator. So all that is back operational again. We got very, very lucky up here that we didn't have to replace all of those injectors. I am going to be sending the fuel tank off to get it restored and rebuilt because it is so bad inside of there. We can't reuse the old fuel tank and just wash it out because any of the fuel that's solidified into that crusty solid in there, if you put fresh gas in it, it'll kind of meld it back into a sludge again and sludge up your whole system all over again. So it needs to be done professionally. We're going to have that done. Let's get this thing up in the air and take a quick peek underneath. Now we're underneath the Fuego and the funkiness doesn't end. The engine and transmission is oriented in a rear-wheel drive fashion, but it is a front-wheel drive vehicle. Take a look. Here's our CV shafts on either side that go to the front wheels, and all of this is transmission and engine hanging out forward. Since we're back here, we'll take a look. There's no serious leaks going on. These belts will need to be replaced. They're old, they're all original. Everything's looking good there. It has a little bit of seepage from the drain plug there, but nothing too bad. Our sway bar is intact. The little tiny bushings I don't know if they're good or not. We'll have to see once we road test it. Our brakes are about half gone. We'll probably just put new pads on them if we can find them. Those are baby little rotors, Mrs. Wizard.
Everything about this car is small and funky.
Yep, it's funky and small. The strut's not blown out. And equally the same over here. Everything looks pretty decent. So we see some seepage coming out of this drain plug. It's been blowing back this way, maybe while it was towed on a trailer. Kind of blew back here, so that's why the wetness is there. Here's our exhaust coming out of that big giant catalytic converter right underneath here. We do see a little bit of corrosion. I don't know if that's just dirt or what that is. We'll have to check into that. But right now we're focusing on getting it running. Here's our fuel line, return, and pressure that go all the way back to the fuel tank. And as you can see, that has been removed. Here's our parking brake or e-brake cable. It has a beam style axle with coil springs and some track bars here. Right in here, the fuel tank set. It was kind of tough to get out. It kind of sits up above the frame rails there, but we were able to get it out, luckily. And our battery sits back in here inside the trunk.
Wait, Wizard, there's a hole that goes into the back hatch area. Can you actually change the fuel sending unit from the back seat?
Yeah, you could change that out without dropping the tank, which is really good. But like all the older fuel injection systems, our fuel filter and pump is located usually on the underbody. Our filter would have gone right here, and our fuel pump was mounted to this little bracket. And there's the power wires that go to the pump. So the only thing that was actually submerged in the tank was the sending unit. We can try to clean it up. We're going to give it a shot, but it's probably an 80% chance that it's ruined. So we got the fuel tank you can see below me. We're going to ship it to Kansas City. Actually, our buddy Bill, who has had a lot of cars through this shop, has used a service through there through various vehicles he's had to have fuel tanks refurbished, and they do a very good job. We tried some muriatic acid and some different things to eat that nasty coating out. It just doesn't even budge it. It's going to have to be cut open, sandblasted, clean it out, welded back together with a coating inside, and we don't do that here. They can do it cheaper and faster up there in Kansas City than we can here in the shop. Get a new fuel pump. It's laughing at me, Mrs. Wizard. There's a crow out there.
Well, it must find this Fuego funny.
Maybe it thinks it's going to catch on fire. I don't know. But new fuel pump, new fuel filter, see if we can get the sending unit fixed, and it'll run. Then we'll start looking into other parts of the engine, if it needs some belts or maybe a little bit of service, but that's about as far as we're going to go here. Once it's running and driving, Eurasian Bob can take it from there. I really like working with Eurasian Bob, or I have a few other friends that are in a similar situation, that if I have trouble finding a part, they don't balk at me, they don't get mad, they don't laugh like that crow is laughing out there, they don't laugh at me. They say, hey, I'll help you, I'll do some searching. They work with me to a common goal so we both can get this thing on the road. Now, thinking about this fuel system, I have a little story. It's just, no, it's not funny, it's not a funny story. Stupid bird. Anyways, a guy brought a Porsche 928 on a tow truck one day. This was several years ago. He said, I want you to get it going again. It's been sitting a long time. And I opened the fuel tank cap and smelled it, and it was smelled like this. I said, this entire fuel system is shot. And it was the Bosch Jetronics system, which has warm-up regulator, has a fuel pressure regulator, accumulator, injectors, the distributor head, all those parts that are all $500 and $1,000 and $1,200 a piece, they're all bad. I said, the entire system is shot. He actually got mad at me. He said, you're just trying to get into my pocketbook, aren't you? He said, in fact, I don't even want you to work on my car. I'll take it to a specialist I know of in another state over. He's a 928 specialist. He was kind of gruff with me, actually rude. A week later, he called and apologized. And he wasn't laughing like the crow. He said, I took it to the specialist. He pulled all the fuel system parts off. Every single one of them are destroyed. He said the estimate that he gave me was going to be way higher than what you even thought it would be, Car Wizard. He said, I wish I wouldn't have blew you off like that. He said, I feel bad. I said, I've been through this many times. When you let a system go bad like this, especially on the older cars, it wipes out the entire fuel system, all of it.
Okay, Wizard, could like those products like Sta-Bil have helped keep this from varnishing?
They can, but probably not for 30 years straight. You're going to have to drain the gas or maybe drive it every now and then, but letting it sit for 20 or 30 years straight, it's just going to go bad no matter what. So might be another video or two on the Fuego. Several of you in the comment section have said, I want to check out that Fuego. So now you got what you asked for. You got a video on the really cool Renault. Now you know why it's here, what the story is, and where we're going with it. So once we get it running and driving, maybe a few other services here or there, Eurasian Bob will take it from there. Again, we don't do restorations here at Omega. Please don't call for that. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to work on this Renault, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. All the tools we use in the shop are listed for sale there. And if you purchase one or more, we get a small cut and really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button because we got many more cool videos to come. Thanks for watching.